I clenched my fists, struggling to breathe as my world crumbled around me. My own wife, the woman I cherished more than anything, had given herself to another man, him of all people. The one person I trusted like a brother, someone I had invited into my home, my life. I scrolled further, each message slicing into me like a blade. Last night was incredible. He has no idea, does he? I wish I could wake up next to you instead of him. My grip tightened around the phone. My pulse roared in my ears. The warmth of our home, the place where I believed love lived, suddenly felt suffocating. Every framed photo of us mocked me, every wedding vow replayed in my head like a cruel joke. I needed to see it for myself. Confrontation without proof would only give her an escape route, an opportunity to twist the truth. So, I waited. Observed. My stomach twisted when she started dressing up more, wearing perfume she hadn't used in years, leaving home with that nervous excitement she once reserved for me. The moment she told me she was heading to a work dinner, my heart went still. Late meeting? I asked casually, pretending to be engrossed in my laptop. She hesitated before nodding. Yeah. Some clients flew in. I won't be home until after midnight. I forced a smile. Have fun. Her eyes flickered with something, relief, guilt, or maybe she was simply pleased that I remained oblivious. She leaned down and kissed my cheek. Love you. I almost flinched. As soon as the door closed behind her, I grabbed my keys. I knew where she would go. The drive was long, my knuckles white against the steering wheel. Every red light tested my patience. Every slow car felt like an obstacle placed by fate to stop me from witnessing the inevitable. But nothing could stop me. Not now. I reached the outskirts of town, where the neon lights of a secluded hotel glowed against the dark sky. My stomach churned as I pulled into a parking lot across the street, watching from a distance. Her car was already there. My hands trembled. The pain, the fury, the betrayal, it all threatened to consume me, but I forced myself to stay still. Then, like a nightmare playing out in real time, I saw him. Ryan. He emerged from his own car, dressed casually, no trace of guilt or hesitation in his movements. He had done this before. A few moments later, the hotel door opened. Sophia stepped out. She beamed at him. That smile, God, I knew it well. It was the smile she used to give me. The one that made me feel invincible, as if I was the center of her world. Now, it belonged to someone else. They embraced, his hands roaming her body in ways that made my blood boil. Their lips met in a slow, intimate kiss. She melted into him, fingers tangled in his hair. My vision blurred with rage. I had seen enough. I threw the car door open and stepped out. Ryan barely had time to react before my fist crashed into his jaw, the impact sending him stumbling back. The sound of my knuckles connecting with his face echoed through the empty parking lot. He groaned, clutching his mouth as he crumpled against the cold pavement. Sophia's scream pierced the air. Oh my God! Stop! I didn't. I grabbed Ryan by his collar, hauling him up before slamming him against the hood of his car. My pulse pounded in my ears, drowning out everything except the raw betrayal coursing through my veins. You really thought I wouldn't find out? My voice was low, laced with venom. He gasped, struggling beneath my grip. It's not what it looks like. I slammed him again, harder this time. Not what it looks like. I barked a bitter laugh. You've been screwing my wife behind my back for how long? Ryan's mouth opened and closed, searching for an excuse, but his swollen lip and the sheer terror in his eyes told me he had none. Sophia shoved at my arm, desperation in her voice. Please, you're going to kill him. I turned to her, my breathing ragged. You don't get to plead for him. My words dripped with disgust. You don't get to ask for mercy. Not after what you did. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I felt nothing. Not love. Not pity. Just rage. Ryan seized the moment. His knee shot up, connecting with my ribs, forcing me to stumble back. He shoved me off, wiping blood from his mouth with the back of his hand. You think you're some victim, he spat, voice shaking. You drove her away. You were never around. She needed someone, and you weren't there. My fist found his stomach, knocking the air from his lungs. He collapsed, gasping, arms wrapped around his gut. Sophia sobbed, kneeling beside him. "Stop. Please." I stepped back, chest heaving. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to end this, to keep going until he felt every ounce of my pain. But looking at them, her hovering over him, hands on his chest, whispering his name, I realized something. She had already made her choice. I wiped my hand across my mouth, tasting blood, whether mine or his, I didn't care. My breathing slowed as the fire inside me dimmed, replaced by something colder. I looked at her one last time. "You ruined everything," I said, voice hollow. "And for him." Sophia's sobs deepened, but I didn't wait for her excuses. I turned away, leaving them there in the parking lot, where our marriage had officially died. I wasn't going home. Not anymore. I drove with no destination in mind, the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest like a boulder. Streetlights blurred past, the yellow glow illuminating the emptiness I felt inside. My knuckles ached from the impact of Ryan's face, but I barely noticed. Sophia had begged me to stop, but she never once begged for me. She hadn't fought for our marriage, hadn't even denied it. That hurt more than anything. The woman I had built my life around had thrown it all away for a cheap thrill, and now I was the one left with nothing. I passed our street without slowing down. There was nothing left for me in that house, just a bed she had shared with me while thinking of him, just walls that had echoed with her lies. I couldn't stand the thought of stepping inside again. By the time I reached the city limits, my phone had vibrated at least a dozen times. I didn't check. I didn't care. The only thing I needed now was distance. I kept driving until the sun peeked over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I pulled into a run-down gas station on the edge of nowhere, exhaustion finally catching up to me. My reflection in the rearview mirror was unrecognizable, bloodshot eyes, a clenched jaw, a face that no longer belonged to the man I once was. I stepped out of the car, stretching my stiff limbs, and went inside. The cashier barely glanced at me as I grabbed a bottle of water and some pain relievers. As I reached for my wallet, my phone vibrated again. I hesitated before checking the screen. 27 missed calls. 15 messages. All from Sophia. I exhaled sharply, fingers tightening around the device. I didn't want to read them. I wanted to erase every trace of her from my life. But some twisted part of me needed to see what she had to say. "Please come home. I can explain. I never meant to hurt you. Where are you? I'm scared. Ryan is in the hospital. What have you done?" I scoffed. What I have done? She had torn my heart to pieces, and yet I was the villain? I turned my phone off, tossed it onto the passenger seat, and drove away from everything I had ever known. The weeks blurred together. I drifted from town to town, taking cash jobs, construction, bar work, whatever kept my hands busy and my mind numb. I didn't speak to anyone unless I had to. I didn't tell anyone my story. I became a ghost. At night, in cheap motel rooms, I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my head. The way she smiled at him. The way she never looked at me like that anymore. I had spent years building a future with her, believing she was my partner, my home. But she had destroyed it all in a single moment. One night, while nursing a whiskey in a dingy bar, my phone buzzed again. I had kept it off for weeks, but curiosity had won today. I expected another flood of messages from Sophia, but instead, it was my brother, Liam. "Pick up." I sighed, stepping outside into the cool night air before calling him back. "Where the hell have you been?" His voice was sharp, but beneath it, I heard something else, concern. I exhaled slowly. "Nowhere." "Jesus, man. Sophia's been looking for you everywhere. She's losing it." I let out a bitter laugh. She should have thought about that before she spread her legs for Ryan. Liam was silent for a long moment. "Look, I know you don't want to hear this, but she's a mess. Ryan left town after you beat the hell out of him. She's been alone ever since." I stared at the ground, kicking a loose rock with my boot. And maybe you should come back. Get your stuff. Get closure." Closure? There was no such thing. I ended the call without another word. But that night, for the first time in weeks, I found myself wondering if disappearing was enough. Or if I needed to return, not for her, not to fix things, but to end it on my terms. I parked a few houses down from what used to be our home. The sight of it made my stomach churn, a place that once held love, trust, and laughter, now nothing more than a crime scene of betrayal. The porch light flickered, casting long shadows across the driveway. Her car sat in its usual spot, but something about it felt off. Maybe it was knowing that I wasn't supposed to be here, or maybe it was the fact that I no longer belonged here. I took a deep breath, stepped out, and walked toward the front door. Before I could knock, it swung open. Sophia stood there, barefoot, wearing one of my old hoodies. Her eyes were swollen, cheeks streaked with dried tears. For a brief second, I almost saw the woman I had loved, the one who used to light up at the sight of me. But that woman was gone. "You came back," she whispered. I didn't respond. She stepped aside, motioning for me to enter. I hesitated before crossing the threshold. The house smelled the same, lavender and vanilla, but the warmth was missing. It felt hollow. "I didn't know if I'd ever see you again," she admitted, wringing her hands. I stayed silent, taking in the place that had once been my home. Framed wedding pictures still hung on the walls, but they were nothing more than cruel reminders now. She followed my gaze. "I never stopped loving you." I let out a cold laugh. "Is that what you tell yourself?" She flinched. "I made a mistake. A terrible, unforgivable mistake." Her voice broke. "But you just left, and You expected me to stay?" I cut her off, shaking my head. "After what you did. After him." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Ryan was never important. He was just... I don't know." My jaw clenched. "He was enough for you to throw everything away." She looked down, ashamed. "I regret it. Every second of it. I miss you, I miss us. I'll do anything to fix this." I studied her, waiting to feel something. Longing, love, even anger. But all I felt was emptiness. "I didn't come back for you, Sophia," I finally said. "I came back for me." Her face crumbled. "What does that mean?" I exhaled slowly. "It means I'm taking my stuff and leaving, for good this time." Desperation flickered in her eyes. "You don't mean that." She stepped closer, reaching for me, but I took a step back. "I do," I said, firm. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "We can fix this. We can try again." I shook my head. "No, you broke this. And I won't be your second choice." Her sobs filled the silence as I turned away, heading upstairs to gather what little I still cared about. Clothes, a few books, my grandfather's watch, things that belonged only to me. As I walked back down, she was still standing in the middle of the living room, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold her world together. But it was already shattered. I stopped at the door, looking at her one last time. "Goodbye, Sophia." She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing, but I didn't turn back. I stepped outside, inhaling the crisp night air. Freedom. Sliding into my car, I didn't look at the house again. I had vanished once before, running from the pain. But this time, I wasn't running. I was free.